Hey Pokemon fans, it's JWittz here with your Pokemon trading card game card of the day. It's Saturday, so that means that there's an unlimited card pool of cards for me to review. Cards from any set release are possible candidates for me to do a card of the day on. And considering that you guys probably use this as your most chosen card that you wanted to see in Unlimited on my contest video that I did a couple days back, I thought I would do base set Charizard. For those of you guys who played the Pokemon trading card game, well, nobody played the card game when it first came out, but those of you guys who collected the cards when the card game just came out knew that Charizard was the stuff of legend. If you owned one, you were king of the school. I knew a kid in my recess that paid another kid a quarter just to look at his Charizard. He just wanted to bask in the presence of it, and he was willing to pay a quarter, which was a lot in 2nd and 3rd grade, just to look at it. Isn't that kind of pathetic? It's kind of strange, but if you played the Pokemon video games, Charizard was an extremely popular character. He's a fire-breathing dragon, and you can probably get him pretty easily as long as you start with Charmander. So, he was a pretty big deal. Now, for those of you guys who were collecting back then, you knew that Pokemon was in extremely high demand. Single Pokemon packs went for as many as $5 or $6 in regular retail stores, and kids just had to have them, so parents were buying. And Charizard was the #1 card to have. Now, if you had a Charizard that was mint condition and in first edition, it went for around $100 and more if you got with the right people, had the right auction on eBay, that kind of stuff. Even today, that same card, mint condition, first edition Charizard, still does command a pretty high price. Some people have Charizards that aren't mint condition, aren't first edition, and think that they still have a gold mine on them. Well, it's not really worth that much anymore, but I'm really just here to talk about the card. It's just interesting how everybody looks back and still thinks that that's the most valuable card or that's the best card to have, just because it had that much of an impact on our childhoods. But as far as the card itself, Charizard was just okay. He was definitely intimidating in that he had the highest HP, combined with Chansey in the base set, but he was pretty costly. Now, his Poke Power, it's a Poke body now by classification, but at the time it was a Pokemon Power, lets you turn any energy attached to him into a fire energy. Now, this works the best with double colorless energy, as 2 double colorless energy feeds his attack, which does 120 damage, and you have to discard those energies. Now, because you have to discard so many energy to actually use his attack, he wasn't really practical. You'd have to keep attaching and discarding, and the time that it took to do that much damage took way more time than some of the best Pokemon in the format, including Blastoise, Charizard's arch nemesis. Now, Blastoise could attach as many energy as he wanted to turn, and even though he was only capped off at 60-70 damage, the fact that you could do that all on one turn with the base set format makes him way faster than Charizard, and it leaves Charizard eating Blastoise's dust. Now, Charizard isn't really a playable card. Some people thought he was at the time, and they tried to build decks. Those very wealthy kids, by the way, because it was hard to get a full set of 4 Charizards, but it really wasn't that great. The resistance was nice against Hitmonchan, but what else are you really going to do? It takes you a lot of turns to set up, and some of those faster Pokemon like Electabuzz and eventually even Scyther, even though everybody thought it was bad because he had fire weakness, it doesn't even matter because he's going to get one-shot by Charizard anyways. Those faster Pokemon just rolled over slow setup decks like Charizard. As far as I'm concerned, the only real setup deck that worked in the early days was Blastoise because he had that speed, but otherwise, Charizard just got destroyed by Pokemon like Hitmonchan, Electabuzz, and Mewtwo and Gust of Wind. However, Charizard definitely does have a huge impact because he's such a popular card, and in Stormfront, his full line, just the way it was printed in base set, except for that change from Power to Body, was re-released in Stormfront. It's just interesting to see. Now, you could play Charizard in a couple of different ways in Stormfront, but it was still just a fun deck. You could play with the Weavile from Mysterious Treasures and use Shadow Charge to get special darks on him, and then he could change those darks back into fire, so you could accelerate him a little bit more, but Charizard's just always been a Pokemon that is glamorous, but not really that practical. It's just a show card, and if you were a kid and had one in your binder, you know exactly what I'm talking about. As far as playability, I can only grant this Charizard a 4 out of 10, and that's being nice. I mean, it was playable, but it really wasn't that good. When you put it against all the other decks that were extremely huge in competitive play, you just really couldn't see this Charizard ever competing. However, as far as artwork goes, I'm going to go as high as a 9 out of 10 on this one. If any of you guys played the game when it first came out, you knew what Charizard looked like, and you knew how big of a deal it was to see it for the first time. I actually like its re-released art even more in the Stormfront set, and that still looks pretty good too. And let's just face it, Charizard's going to be one of the most popular Pokemon that ever came out, and he's going to be one of the coolest. Now, there have been so many Dragon-type Pokemon that have come out after Charizard, but he's the original, he's the one everybody wanted in the first place, and he's just a really cool dude all around. Well, I hope you guys liked today's card of the day, and tomorrow's going to be another unlimited card, but this time it's a super rare, so that means level X's, EXs, shinies, crystals, all other stuff like that is up for review. So, tune in tomorrow and check that card out, and I'll see you guys then. Peace!
You want the best tricks? I suggest you Prof-It. You want a mess spread? I suggest you drop it.
Once we started rolling, you know you can't stop it. Let's go and get some lessons from JWittz and Prof-It. Yeah!
Hey everybody. Hey. What is that sound?